Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another summer crockpot video. I know summer is kind of coming to a close, but crockpot meals are always easy, always delicious, and you guys really loved the last time I did a video like this, so I thought I'd do another one. So first up, we have this slow cooker beef and potato au gratin, and I'll be honest, this recipe really surprised me with how good it was. I was not expecting it to be as flavorful as it turned out to be. So you're just going to start by browning a pound of ground beef. I'm not 100% sure if this step is absolutely necessary, but I really think that browning it in a skillet before you throw it in the crock pot really does add a lot of flavor. And I'm just seasoning it with this Kinder's buttery steakhouse seasoning, and this is the key that added all the flavor, I really believe, because I did not add any other seasonings, no extra salt, nothing else, just this buttery steakhouse seasoning, and it was so good. But I did season every layer, so I seasoned the meat as I was cooking it, and then I seasoned everything as I put it in the slow cooker. While the meat is browning, you're going to go ahead and chop up about 3 pounds of potatoes. I used russet potatoes, but you can use gold or whatever you want. You want them fairly thin. You can use a mandolin if you want them to all be uniform sized and super thin, but I didn't want them quite that thin. So I did go ahead and use a knife and just slice them as thin and as evenly as I could. I also wanted to mention that I was putting the potatoes that I sliced over in a bowl of cold water just to keep the first ones that I sliced from turning brown and to kind of pull out maybe just a little bit of that starch from the potatoes. And once the meat is all cooked and your potatoes are all sliced, you're going to spray your crock pot with some nonstick cooking spray, and then you're going to layer down some potatoes and meat like it's lasagna. Now here's where I would differ from the recipe. Next time I make this, I'll be adding cheese to each layer and maybe like some heavy cream or something just to give it a little more creaminess and make it more like potatoes au gratin, like just normal. But the flavor was really delicious, and other than it needing a little bit more cheese, I really wouldn't change much. So I just alternated layers of potatoes and meat and seasonings, and then once it was all layered, I added about a cup of beef broth. I just used this beef bouillon powder mixed with water, but you can definitely use broth or whatever you have. And then I put my slow cooker on high for about 4 hours. Once the 4 hours was up, it was looking a little crusty, but it wasn't dry as it looked. But I did go ahead and add about half a cup of cheese to the top of it, and like I said, next time I will be layering the cheese throughout, and I do think the cheese could have cooked the entire time instead of adding it just at the end. But overall, this dish was really great. It had amazing flavor and it surprised me. I topped it with some green onions for a little bit more flavor, and I really like how the cheese got crusty on the edges as if it was baked or something like that. But it was really delicious, and we'll definitely be having it again. Up next, we have these beef tips, and this is my favorite way to cook beef tips. This is my go-to recipe. I just started with a chuck roast that I cut off some of the fat and cubed it up and just made my own stew meat essentially. Sometimes when you buy stew meat from the store, it just is not that great quality. It has a bunch of like fatty bits and like some hard bits and stuff like that. It's just not my favorite, so I like to cube mine up. Then I'm going to top it with this Lipton onion soup mix and a packet of brown gravy. I just buy my brown gravy in bulk because it's so much easier. And this is the key, a can of ginger ale. You cannot taste the ginger, but it really makes the meat fall apart tender, and it's so good and so worth it. You can use water if you don't have ginger ale, but I've done it with water and it's just not as good as it is with a ginger ale. And then you're just going to cover your crock pot and cook it on low for about 6 hours, or you can do high for about 4, just until your meat's done. And your house will be smelling amazing. This is one of my all-time favorite slow cooker recipes. It's just so easy and so good, especially if you pre-cube up your meat or if you buy just regular stew meat. There's really no prep work involved. It's just amazing and delicious. And finally, we have this lazy crockpot lasagna. It's not the healthiest, but it actually was pretty good. So you just start by browning your ground beef, and I like to season mine with Italian seasoning, salt, and pepper, but you can use whatever you like. This recipe does take a lot more like prep work because you are making your spaghetti sauce. But if you want to just throw in ground beef, I'm sure it would be fine. Or you could even leave out the ground beef and just have regular like lasagna type with no meat. But just break up your ground beef and brown it until it's done. Here I'm just draining the fat off my meat. I like to use a paper towel. I just find it's easier than trying to pour my meat into a strainer and making a mess that way. This is just how I like to do it. Next, I'm adding in a can of spaghetti sauce. You can definitely make your own by just using tomato sauce or tomato paste or however you like to make your spaghetti sauce. I just like to use this because it has a little bit of flavor added in already. And then I'm going to add some extra Italian seasoning, a little bit of sugar just to cut the acidity, and some garlic powder. Once your sauce has simmered for a little bit, you're just going to throw in your ravioli. I used frozen ravioli. You can use the fresh ravioli if you want, or you can even make your own if you're super ambitious. That is just not who I am as a person. But the frozen worked out just fine, and I just layered half the noodles down and then put half the sauce over that. And then I'm going to put in about a cup of mozzarella cheese and then sprinkle that with some Parmesan cheese. I really like the fresh grated Parmesan cheese, but my grocery store is out and they substituted this kind in the can, and I mean, it's okay, it's just not as good as the fresh Parmesan. But then you're just going to repeat those same steps until it's all layered. After everything is layered and assembled, I'm going to put my lid on and then set my crock pot to low for 4 hours and just make sure that the lasagna is cooked all the way through and everything is melted and together. And this was actually pretty good. This is the first time I've ever made this. Like I said, it's not super healthy, but we did have a salad on the side, and it was pretty good for how easy it was. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really hope you like this video and give it a big thumbs up, and please subscribe for more content like this. Thanks again. Bye.